I have to bring up the pardon thing because I don't. What? Apparently, Biden now has pardoned 9,000 people. Like George Bush did, like 500, and over 8 years. 9,000 people. The only one close is Jimmy Carter because he did 12,000 people that had to go to Canada because they tried to avoid the Vietnam War. So he just did a blanket pardon of 12,000 people. This is 9,000 individuals.
Yeah, some of them work sort of in that blanket. Like he did that 1,500 that one day, which is the most ever happened in a day. And they were sort of more like blanket. They were like, here's a class of criminal in a certain situation.
This is crazy.
But like some of the specifics are really bizarre.
Yeah.
Right? Like this woman who bilked this town.
Okay, yeah. So there's a town, Dixon, Illinois. And it's a small town. And this woman worked for the town. And she had opened up an account. And she was transferring money into her account. And people are like, where's all the money going? $54 million. Okay. I love the list of what she bought. She bought like 400 horses and then like 80 acres of land, which you can't have 400 horses on 80 acres of land. But anyway.
You can't?
Well, that's a lot of horses.
Why is that?
Because you'd have to
as a person who was born in New York, why is that a problem?
That's not enough grass.
Not enough grass.
So you would have to year round be feeding the horses.
How much grass are these things eating? That's too much.
Calm all
down.
Day long.
Calm down. Jeez.
Anyway,
it's grass.
She bought,
so
let's see, 400 horses, 48 trucks, luxury motorhome, classic cars, a boat, 80 acres of land, jewelry, personal credit cards, business expenses, furnishing for at least 3 homes, including a Florida vacation home.
You think at some point in a small town they would have caught this a little earlier?
That, yeah. You have a new collection and you work what? Where? What? So anyway, she goes on vacation and the city's like, let's check her bank records, her bank account. And so they get the warrant, they check her bank, they arrest her. She's 20 years. She's served like 4 or 5 years of her time. And she's like, oh, I'm getting really old and sick. And she's not that old. And so the judge says, okay, and this set the town on fire. The judge said, okay, home arrest. You're just ankle bracelet. You cannot leave your home. Okay, well, if you're sick and you're worried that, your family's not going to see you and whatever, fine.
Okay.
That wasn't good enough for whoever is putting this one in front of Joe Biden. He just said, you're done. Why?
Yeah, why?
Who suggested this one?
Somebody.
It
wasn't just a random, he was just perusing the internet and came across this story and thought, this person who brought 400 horses for 400 horses for 80 acres?
Yeah.
80 acres, which, by the way, is too many horses on that many acres.
I could be wrong, horse people. I could be wrong. I know cows can't do it. Horse people. They are horse people. They have the head and hands of horses.
Oh, my God.
The rest of them is human. It's weird.
I'd say that's horrific, but that would be hateful, and I shouldn't judh other people's cultures.
They're just like people. They need people food, but they don't have fingers or thumbs.
No, so they just eat grass.
Yeah.
This isn't a random thing. The way a lot of this works is somebody who is tied to the administration.
Okay.
Somebody who, has a connection or a person who has a connection to somebody else gets the message to somebody in the administration, hey, I like this person. I don't think they're that bad. You should let them out. And that's not the way it's. Let me tell you a story I've never told on the air before. There's a guy I know who I think it was caught up in something that he didn't do. Everything that I see looks like he's been falsely accused and it's just destroyed his life for many, many years. And they haven't sentenced him. And he's waiting for the shoe to drop for at that time, 2 years. This 4 years ago.
And so his attorney called me and he said, you know the president. And I went through the case and everything. And I thought, I think he's actually innocent. So I called the president right after the new year. And I said, Mr. President, may I pitch you on a name? We've already sent it to your vetters, so they're looking at it. I just want to tell you, I think this guy got the shaft.
You made a personal plea.
I made a personal plea, and we talked about it for a while. And he said, okay, I'd love to do that, but I have to look at the case. I don't know I haven't heard of this case. I said, I understand. I just wanted to put my name on it.
Put it on your radar.
Just put it on your radar. They looked at it. They disagreed. He wasn't pardoned. But that's the way it happens. Okay? Some lawyer gets information to the White House, and that lawyer knows somebody who knows somebody in the White House, and they call and say, 9,000 pardons? 9,000. First of all, President Biden has no idea. There's no way you could go through 9,000. How many lawyers at the White House do they have going over these cases for 9,000 reversals?
Right. They're just saying, likely, allegedly, just saying yes to everybody who's asking this connected to them.
Why would you let this person go?
Right, because it seems like a terrible one. Someone who bilks to the public for millions and millions and millions of dollars.
$54 million, a small town. That's a lot of money, that small town. They had to cut services.
Yep.
Okay, so what about the one with the judge? Listen to this one.
Yeah, this is a story of a judge who, long story short, basically was accused and convicted of going through, taking people and intentionally sentencing young people, juveniles and young people, if I'm remembering all the details of the story correctly, to prisons in conjunction with someone who was running the prison. And of course, the
prison makes money.
It's a for-profit prison.
Yeah, so the prison makes money if you get more prisoners.
Right. So they were sentencing people to prison time to line their pockets and their associates' pockets.
That person, honestly, that's one of the worst crimes. I mean, that's
awful.
That's up there with murder.
I mean, and I will say that I've seen some legitimate anger from the left on that one in particular.
It should be. That should be. That's an assault on not just our laws. That's not money. That is that's taking somebody's liberty, and really you live with that for the rest of your life. Your life. For money. The judge is doing that. That person should never get out of prison, at least early. I think that is one of the worst crimes I've heard.
It's a really rough one. And you're talking about the lives of young people who might be able to turn their lives around, and who knows. So
look at the story that came out. When was this? Friday or Thursday of last week. The girl who said, "Oh, by the way, the Duke lacrosse team." I did make that up. No, she didn't say it that way. That's the way I heard it, and I was outraged. I was like, this person should be in jail forever. Well, she's already in jail. She murdered somebody. So she's already in jail. But it looks like she's had a deep spiritual change in her. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to say, oh, you know what? Let's forget the prison thing on the murder. No. But she looks like she had a deep Jesus moment, and she was clearing this up. I think that is absolutely incredible, because the three boys that were charged and everyone in the Duke lacrosse team was smeared. But imagine being one of those three that were named, trying to get a job.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Horrible. I had you mentioned, Glenn, I have a friend of a friend who's on the Duke lacrosse team, was on that Duke lacrosse team.
Wow.
Not one of the kids who was not even at that party.
Sure, Stu.
Not even at the party.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Not only were they not accused of doing anything wrong at the party, but weren't even at the party. And the second they would turn in a resume to someone with Duke and lacrosse on it, in that time period, they would just not get callbacks from prospective employers because of this. And some of them would tell them, like, I can't hire somebody from the Duke freaking lacrosse team, which is, I mean, it's somewhat understandable from an employer's perspective. You'd really have to be sure. Now, in that case, they should have been sure because he wasn't even at the party. But still, I mean, this was an awful slander beyond slander. Of course, they wound up winning.
But remember, I mean, you remember the name Nifong?
Yeah, Mike Nifong. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
he stuck to it even after.
Oh, he was like, these guys are criminals, blah, blah, blah. He just kept going and going and going. Said that it was, racist. The entire team was racist. The school was racist. I mean, somebody should pay a price for this. You destroyed lives.
This is the video. So if you remember the story, it was a stripper who went to a party.
Yeah.
And then claimed she was raped.
Right.
Right.
But there was no DNA evidence.
Yeah. All sorts of
she
problems
was drunk and on drugs. She left the party early. Everyone she actually said was there wasn't there.
Many of them weren't. Yeah. So there's all sorts of problems. The case fell apart. It was a big scandal, of course. But she never came out and said, hey, by the way, I was totally lying about that. So in the interim, she murdered her boyfriend with a kitchen knife.
Right. Okay.
That happens. Some developments
that happens
to
all of us.
Went to prison and has had what she claims is a transformation. I want to play this video for you. It's about 1.5 minutes long, but I want to see, Glenn, what do you buy this? Okay. Does it seem that real to you?
The Bible says that you shouldn't do harm to your neighbor that lives trustingly beside you. And they were my brothers, and they trusted me that I wouldn't betray their trust. And I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't. And that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God. And that was wrong when God already loved me for who I was. Regardless, I didn't need to seek validation from him because I already had validation from him. I just didn't know it. And I hurt my brothers. And I hope that they can forgive me. And I want them to know that I love them. And they didn't deserve that. And I hope they can forgive me. And that I hope that they can heal and trust God and know that God loves them and that God is loving them through me, letting them know that they're valuable and that they didn't deserve that.
I think it's pretty interesting. Now, it should be noted she's nothing to gain as far as like getting out of prison. She murdered somebody, so she's not like on the verge of getting out, and this will help her. This is,
Well, it will help her eventually.
It could. It could.
Just admitting, that you did it and it was wrong is a big deal.
Sure.
She's not reacting the way I would have, but I blubber all the time. If I had done that, it would have been more emotional, but she may, it may not be the way she reacts.
I will say she initiated this happening, right? Like she called a reporter to come to do this.
To talk about that.
To talk about this. So,
okay.
She had it planned for a while. It wasn't like off the top of her head.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a difference. I want to believe her. I want to believe her. God only knows, but I want to believe her.